Godfrey now with us from Cape Town, where of course he's attending the mining Indaba. Godfrey, it's over to you on this end, where, as I was saying earlier, conversation certainly seems to be heating up on your end.
Indeed, Alicia, thanks very much. Indeed, we're back in Cape Town and mining Indaba day 2 we have, and 2 keynote addresses really that were done here today. One was by Mines Minister Susan Shabangu, where she spoke about the ANC's commitment to not nationalize, and to work with private companies to try and make sure that South Africa's mining industry survives. Then we also had a very passionate defense of the private sector by Cynthia Caro, the outgoing CEO of Anglo American. She really spoke like she really believed what she was saying, and she spoke about law and order, about the fact that violence has no place in the mines, and the fact that there has to be a stable environment for mining companies to be able to make money and work effectively. But I digress a little bit, because I've got here with me Ibukun Adebayo. He is from the London Stock Exchange, and he's the head of equity primary markets for the Middle East and Africa. Ibukun, thanks. I'm sure you listened to those exchanges in the morning in the main plenary sessions, and you would have picked up some very, very indeed passionate speaking from both women. But let's talk about what the London Stock Exchange is doing in Africa. How many listings last year? How many listings are you targeting this year? And I'm talking particularly Africa-focused listings.
Thank you, Godfrey. Pleasure to be here. The environment is incredible at the moment in terms of listed companies. Last year there were 9 companies from Africa raising in excess of $250 million US. Last year that figure was, I suppose, very much in line with market conditions, and we expect more for this year. We're expecting increasing interest from the investors who are looking at the growth story opportunities in Africa that are not available in the West or anywhere else.
I want to know the target that you've been set by your bosses for listing African companies. So you did 9 last year. Are you doubling this year?
Well, it's very difficult for us to make exact forecasts on those numbers, and of course there are lots of opportunities for corporates, and we're doing our work to make sure that we can get that number as high as possible and raise capital for African business.
Yeah, so let's talk about that pipeline. What is it looking like, and what sort of interest are you seeing? I want to be able to break it down in terms of the different mineral sets, and also hopefully you'll be able to tell me in terms of the different geographies. Is it west? Is it south? Is it central? Is it east?
Well, at the moment we have discussions with companies from countries like Nigeria, from South Africa directly. We have lots of interest from other countries where you wouldn't expect us to have interest. Chad, for example, is a place of interest that we've been looking to grow our business. And it's across all sectors. Africa is rich not just in resources but in everything else, in human capital, and the consumer growth story is growing here. But equally, the need to finance African infrastructure is becoming more prevalent, and there's a lot of development work going on with both UK businesses and indeed businesses from Africa. So we're looking to finance the development through that growth.
Is it just minerals, or are people beginning to look beyond the minerals? I mean, we know they want to come and mine our gold, our platinum, our iron ore, etc. But people are beginning to talk about the African consumer, the African retailer, the youngest population in the world.
There are significant opportunities in the consumer space. Africa has not just a consumer opportunity, but a massive opportunity in terms of agriculture. It's an undervalued sector. It's a sector that doesn't have much representation from Africa on the global space. Africa has some of the world's most fertile and arable lands. So we expect that companies who are doing very well there, who've mechanized their processes, who are well-run, well-managed businesses, we expect them to tap capital markets in the future as well. So the growth story is across the board.
Yeah. Summarize for us, if you can, Ibukun, about the conversations that's taken place within the investment banking community in London and other places about Africa and the perception of it as a risky continent to do business, particularly given the events that we saw happen in South Africa last year.
Absolutely. I think the most important thing that we have in London is a group of very, very well-educated investors. People have been investing in Africa for many, many years. We didn't just start last week. And the importance there is that they've understood the ability to divorce the sovereign story from the individual equity stories of individual corporates. They spend time with them, they're on the ground, they do their work, they do their homework and due diligence. And equally, there's a symbiosis between the management's passion and the passion for the investors to make money. And when you meet those two together, then usually what you find are deals being done, and we're hoping that that's going to continue.
Is it getting harder to convince people to look at the continent? Is it getting harder to get those companies to come and list on the stock exchange?
Well, actually, to be honest with you, it's getting much easier. I think the reality is that there is a significant amount of potential here. If you have a look at just Africa growth from IMF, 5.5% expected in the next 10 years, 4.5% in MENA, 1.8% in advanced economies. It makes our job very, very straightforward, although there are still challenges on the way as well. But I think they're not insurmountable.
Yeah. Have you begun seeing Chinese companies coming onto London to try and use London as a springboard to look at the continent?
Oh, absolutely. Well, Chinese investment money, Chinese money has become very important now. And in particular, we've had many Chinese businesses that invest in Africa listing on the London Stock Exchange. So it's almost completing that circle there. There were 8 of those last year. So it's a very interesting story in addition to the African growth story itself.
Absolutely exciting time to be trying to raise capital in London for African-focused companies. Ibukun Adebayo, Head of Equity at Primary Markets at the London Stock Exchange. Thank you for your time.